Welcome back to Indianomics. I have with me Mrs. Arundhati Bhattacharya of State Bank of India. Mrs. Bhattacharya, thank you very much for joining me in this discussion on bad loans. First of all, can you tell us about this ongoing negotiations on more NPA recognition? I believe Reserve Bank is asking you to keep some precautionary provisions for SDR, strategic debt restructuring cases, and not wait for 18 months to provide for them.
Actually, if you've seen, in the last 2 quarters, we have taken much larger provisions on our standard assets. So I don't think that we are at all at variance with the regulator on this. We've done it ourselves. We've done it knowing that there are some assets over there which are weak, and therefore we need to take precautions. And I think I am fully at one with the regulator over here that we should take some amount of precautionary provisions. I don't think we have any quarrel on that fact.
We've also heard that the Reserve Bank wants you to recognize as bad loans those CDR cases where promoters have not done their share of the bargain, like not brought in shares for pledging or sold assets.
We do have a little bit of a difference over here with the RBI, because we believe that, if there are some technical difficulties and therefore the promoter has not been able to do something particular, as long as it is not impacting on the viability on the account, no purpose is served by recognizing it. So, we are more inclined to say that where, yes, viability is not coming up, or say the equity portion that he was supposed to bring in has not been brought in, and therefore, the viability is not getting established. We fully understand that those need to be recognized, and in fact, we have been recognizing it all the time. In fact, in respect of CDR cases, many a times analysts tell us that you give us the numbers where moratorium, where the moratorium is going to end. And we keep telling them that there is no shelf like a moratorium and you fall off the shelf. So, if the promoters are supposed to bring in equity in 120 days and they don't bring it, then automatically at that point of time itself it is recognized as a failed CDR. So there is no question of waiting for 2 years for the moratorium to end and at that point of time you recognize it. That's not it at all. But on the other side, if he's been asked to pledge his shares within 120 days and there are genuine difficulties because of which he's not able to pledge it, I don't think any purpose is served by pulling the plug.
Well, Mrs. Bhattacharya, we were discussing a Credit Suisse report which says that as much as 16% of the total loan book could actually be stressed and not 5.8% GNPLs. Do you agree with that number, 16%?
I don't really think so. Frankly, I don't have these numbers industry-wide, not possible for me to have also. But we do know, for instance, one particular group, I do know that they have taken the debt but not the EBITDA arising out of that debt. So in fact, they came to us, we questioned them and they immediately came and showed the figures. So they had bought over certain things. So the debt had taken over, that was shown, whereas the EBITDA of those particular units that they had bought, that was not included. So, I don't think you need to rely totally. However, there must be, there cannot be any smoke without fire. So obviously they have some numbers, and those numbers, even if you discount it, some numbers may be correct. But as I said again, this is where we need to ensure that the economy grows strongly enough for many of these to recover. Also, it needs new people coming in. We need to ensure that there are restructurings in certain places, and restructuring may be in many ways, not only through the CDR route, but through sale to other people by ensuring that there is conversion of certain unsustainable debt to equity and things like that. So those are the sort of things that will have to get done. So I'm not saying that the exercise is over by any means, but yes, we are also at one with the regulator that we need to get this over as quickly as possible.
Okay, finally, for the system as a whole, how much can the load of provisions go up by?
Really speaking, Lata, it's very difficult for me to say, very difficult for me to say. And again, as I said, in this cycle, one good thing about NPAs is there is a lot of asset on the ground. So I don't think you should write all of it off. There is a lot of good asset over there and they have value. And with the economy beginning to grow again, many of them will regain much of the value because the replacement cost of these assets is huge at today's prices. So I don't think you should write off the whole lot. And we should take it, in a reasonable and in a more practical manner. So again, numbers I really don't have, so I can't give you.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining me, Mrs. Bhattacharya.
Thank you.
Well, so what are the key takeaways from these eminent bankers? One, probably the worst is known about the plight of the bad loans. Probably it's not worse than 15 to 16% of the book. 2, even 15 to 16% is an exaggeration because some of these loans at least are backed by solid asset creation. 3, some of the assets may have been created, but they are unlikely to be commercially viable if they're going to sell steel at $600 when the landed cost is $270. So some hard decisions of pulling the plug will have to be taken. And 4, a bit of luck and a lot of growth is needed for the Reserve Bank to meet its target of cleaning balance sheets by March 2017. That's it on this edition of Indianomics. Thanks for watching.